Boa noite, sejam muito bem-vindos à meditação. É com muita alegria que nós nos reunimos mais uma vez aqui para meditarmos juntos, apesar da distância. Então vamos adotar a postura de meditação. Os pés na mãe terra, as mãos sobre o colo com as palmas voltadas para cima. Procure relaxar, porém mantendo a coluna ereta. Se estiver muito frio aí onde você está, pode ficar de meias, não tem problema. Feche os olhos e preste atenção na sua respiração. Vamos inspirar juntos. Segure o ar. Agora solte, mantenha o pulmão vazio. Inspire novamente. Segure. Solte o ar. Mantenha o pulmão vazio. Uma última vez, inspire. Prenda o ar. Solte e normalize sua respiração. Continue prestando atenção nela. Agora eleve a Kundalini e dê os bandos de proteção. Vamos vibrar a água do banho de pés. Existem várias maneiras de fazer isso. Hoje nós vamos utilizar apenas as nossas mãos que carregam vibrações. Portanto, dê 7 voltas no sentido horário com a mão direita em direção à água. Depois, mergulhe os pés. Não esqueça de observar qual é a temperatura certa para você, se a água deve ser mais fria ou mais quente. Se você tiver alguma dúvida, nos consulte. Se estiver muito frio aí no seu local, não utilize água fria demais, tente quebrar um pouco do gelo. Mais importante é observar como você se sente com cada temperatura. Coloque as duas mãos em direção à Mãe Terra, atenção no Muladhara. Shri Ganesha, por favor, remove todos os obstáculos à nossa meditação e nos dê um Muladhara Chakra forte e saudável. Por favor, Shri Ganesha, consolida em nós a inocência e a auspiciosidade. Mantra a Shri Ganesha. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Ganesha Sakshat Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devye Namo Namaha. Volte as duas mãos para o colo e leve a mão direita para o encontro da perna com o tronco no lado esquerdo, só de estando esquerdo. Mãe, por favor, me dê o puro conhecimento. Mantra Shri Nirmala Vidya. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Nirmala Vidya Sakshat Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devye Namo Namaha. Mãe, por favor, purifica os meus desejos e elimina todos os desejos que me afastam da evolução. Mantra Shri Shuddhaicha. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Shuddhaicha Sakshat Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devye Namo Namaha. Mova a mão para o centro do Swadhisthana, mais ou menos uns 4 dedos abaixo do umbigo. Mãe, por favor, permita que eu coloque amor em tudo o que eu faço. Que haja amor e conhecimento nas minhas ações. Que eu possa desfrutar a beleza de toda a criação. Mantra a Shri Brahmadeva Sarasvati. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Brahmadeva Sarasvati Sakshat Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devye Namo Namaha. Descanse a mão direita e leve a mão esquerda para o Swadhisthana direito no encontro da perna com o tronco, no lado direito. Mão oposta. Mãe, por favor, acalma o meu interior, acalma os meus pensamentos, a minha agitação, ansiedade. Mãe, em verdade eu nada faço e eu entrego os frutos das minhas ações. Mantra a Shri Nirmala Chitta. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Nirmala Chitta Sakshat Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devye Namo Namaha. de voltar a mão, vamos mover a nossa atenção para o Agnya. Se quiser, pode abrir os olhos e olhar para esse ponto vermelho no rosto de Shri Mataji, que marca o Agnya dela. Vamos juntos fazer a oração do Pai Nosso. Pai nosso que estais no céu, santificado seja o vosso nome. Venha a nós o vosso reino, seja feita a vossa vontade, assim na terra como no céu. O pão nosso de cada dia nos dai hoje, perdoai as nossas ofensas, assim como nós perdoamos a quem nos tem ofendido. E não nos deixeis cair em tentação, mas livrai-nos do mal, porque vossos são o reino, o poder e a glória, para todos sempre. Amém. Feche os olhos, mas permaneça com atenção no Agnya. Mãe nossa, que estais na terra, santificado seja o vosso nome. Venha a nós o vosso reino. Seja feita a vossa vontade, assim na terra como no céu. As vossas divinas vibrações nos dai hoje, perdoai as nossas ofensas, assim como nós perdoamos a quem nos tem ofendido. E não nos deixeis cair na maia, na ilusão, mas livrai-nos do mal, porque vossos são o Pai, os Filhos e a glória, para todos sempre. Amém. Medite em silêncio por alguns instantes. Agora, mantendo a atenção meditativa, vamos tirar o banho de pés, enxaguar, descartar e retornamos em 2 minutos. Muito bem, vamos chegando. Nós vamos na sequência assistir a palestra de Shrimad, que é a continuação do programa público em Brighton, em 1983. A gente vai assistir a sessão de perguntas e respostas. Muito interessante, porque quem não gostaria de ter tido essa oportunidade de perguntar algo a Shrimad?
They are not nigh. But in the Bible also it is written that I will appear before you like tongues of flames. And actually when you see this Astrara, it looks like beautiful flames in 7 colors, most harmless, silently, like this flame, but very longish flames, and silently burning and opening out, very cooling flames. Even this flame can give you cool breeze. It has happened with many. And how it works out, that we have to see. It's fantastic. It's too much to believe. First of all, we have no faith in ourselves. We don't know how can we get realization so easily. People had to do this, people had to do that. But time has come. You have done everything in your previous lives. You have starved yourself. You have roamed about. You have done all the tapasyas, the penance, and today is the time for you to get realization. And that's what it is. But why doubt it? You don't have to pay for it. Nothing is selling here, you know that. Nothing is selling. Actually, you cannot sell God. You cannot sell God. Those who sell are committing sins. How can you sell love? Love is not a sellable quality. Then the love of God, how can you sell? But we are so attracted by commercializing and all that. Because everything is so commercialized and so traditional now that for people who say that you cannot pay for your realization, they just can't understand how can it be. Get out of this. Get out of it. And just know that commercializing is a sin. If you try to do that in the realm of divine, it's a sinful thing. Anybody who has done that is wrong. Christ had taken a big hunter and hit all those people who were selling near that church. That's what it is. Today we find in all the churches, all the temples, mosques and everywhere are nothing but commercializing. But that doesn't mean that those people who propounded those great ideals to balance yourself on your void, as we call it, they gave you the 10 commandments to balance yourself, that they were wrong, that they did it just as a mental projection. It's a fact. You have to balance yourself. All of them tried to balance you, gave you a method of moderation. For what is this moderation? Is for the ascent. If you do not have balance in life, you cannot move. Imagine a car going on 2 wheels on one side. Even if there's a bicycle, you have to balance it. You just can't ride a bicycle if you don't know how to balance it. So this balance was to be established, and that's why they propounded all these great ideals for all of you. And all this is for your ascent and not to be just settled down with that balance. You have to ascend, and that ascent is now very simple and easy because the time has come. As I told you yesterday, on the tree of life, there were very, very few flowers to begin with. But today, at the blossom time, there are so many seekers. A special category, the flowers as they call it. They are flowers, no doubt. When they called them flowers, it was true they were flowers. But they went into wrong direction. They were definitely flowers to become fruits. And they will, God willing, all of them will have to become the fruits. May God bless you. I always ask people to ask me questions. But that doesn't mean that you should go on taking time unnecessarily. And also, mentally, I can just satisfy you up to a point. Because the mind cannot cross the barriers. It has to be triggered into a space of thoughtless awareness. And what you understand through your mind is only the signboard which you can read. But you have to enter inside. And for that, the ascent has to take place. That's important. The other day in the university, there was only one person who asked many questions. And he was the one who didn't ascend. The rest of them all ascended. It's very sad. And we have to work on him. Of course, he is going to ascend because he wants to ascend. But the questions went on like that, and such a waste of time. Because you are earnest seekers and truthful seekers, please ask questions which will help everyone. We have to be kind to everyone. May God bless you. Have some water. Could I bless you also? Thank you. If you have any questions, please ask. Yes?
Is it dangerous to split the mental and thought? There is no thought at all.
Can you tell me what he's saying is? Just tell him. I see. I have to be able to.
So is it dangerous to split thought, having thoughts, stopping thoughts, and then having no thoughts?
Is it dangerous to split thoughts?
No. We are not splitting it. You are sadly mistaken. That's not the point. See, a thought rises as a reaction to something, all right? Rises and falls off, and then another thought rises and falls off. In between the thought, there's a little space, which in Sanskrit called as vilamba. Now the thought may come from the future, may come from the past. But when it comes, it goes to the past, all right? Now, what happens that we see the rising of the thought but not falling of the thought. And in between the thought, this vilamba is the present. Now, if I tell you be in the present, you can. But you just go on thinking like mad. On the cusp of the thought, you are moving, just like mad. But there's a realm beyond the thought, which is complete awareness and thoughtless awareness, where there is no thought. And thought is a great joy killer. I'll tell you how. For example, you are seeing these flowers now. I am also seeing them. Now I am seeing it thoughtlessly, you are seeing it with thought. So the thought arises from what shop she must have bought, how much it must have cost, because thought is not joy. But I am just looking at it, without thinking. The complete creation of this, all the joy that is put into these, all the joy that has been created by putting it into this kind of a style, all that is silent is just entering into my being, giving me that peace and the joy for which it was created. It's a barrier. Actually, thought is always a barrier. But when you go beyond thought, it doesn't mean that you cannot think, but you become a master. If you want, you can think. If you don't want, you cannot think. But you are not driven by your thoughts. You see my point? It's like the thought is riding you, now you ride the thoughts.
Can you prevent thinking?
Can you?
Can you prevent thinking?
Yes. if you want, you can just sit silently, in your silence enjoying it. If you want, you can think. But after that, whatever you think has a special quality. Because that thought that comes to you after your realization is guided, enlightened by your spirit. Say a thought comes to you. For example, you are sitting here and you see something in the darkness and you think this is a serpent. For example, you might think, thinking anything is possible. There's no control. So you think it is a serpent going and you're frightened of it and you try to save yourself. But supposing there is light, then the same thought tells you, no, it's not. It's just a rope lying there. With enlightenment, the same thought has a special quality. Because you see it in all its dimensions and understand what does that mean. What it is like. What is the absolute value of particular thought is. And you just give up. Whatever is not right, you just give up. Whatever is right, you accept. Because you see it clearly. So far there is no discrimination. Now a thought comes to a person that let me go and murder someone. This all comes from thought. Because I hate that person, I must murder that person, all right? It's all hatred working. Now you go with that thought somewhere and you murder that person. And then after the violence, the whole thing, the face changes and becomes so nervous and everything starts. First thought takes you down there, you kill the person, and the second thought comes you and makes you, oh God, what have I done? Both are wrong. But if you are a realized soul, first of all, you will not hate anyone. There are ways of neutralizing the hatred inside you. And neutralizing even the hatred of the person who hates you. Love's powers we have never known before. We only know the power of hatred. You see, the way we are producing MX, this and that is nothing. It's based on hatred and fear. If these people get realization, I don't know if they'll ever get it. They won't produce all these horrible things which is making everyone shudder. We have never used the power of love so far. But that you cannot do it unless and until you have felt it after realization.
Will you please tell us something of the technique?
Yes, I will tell you. Technique. As I said, that it's a spontaneous thing. It's done as a living process, all right? Now, if I say that, what is the technique of sprouting a seed? That's a living process. No technique, you just put it in the Mother Earth, it sprouts, it's all built in. It's a divine technique by which it works out first. But then you become the master of the technique yourself. Then you can do it. Because you enter into a new realm where you have the divine power by which you can do it yourself, you can maneuver it. But how you get your realization is through the spontaneous process. And a very simple process is like this, a candle which is enlightened can enlighten another light. If the candle is there and if the candle is in order. But this candle, if it's a realized soul, that it can also correct through its techniques, which you have to learn. Through its technique, it can also correct the other candle which is not yet enlightened and then can enlighten. It can do everything. But the technique of that is to be understood very easily because you become a collectively conscious personality. You become, again I say you become another personality. Like an egg becomes a bird. That's how you become. Then the bird has to just learn how to fly. But what is the technique for the egg To become the bird is just to be put in the warmth of the mother hen. No technique, it's all built in. That's the divine technique. But then you learn the divine technique yourself how to do it. Alright? So then once you are realized by a very simple method, which is our job first of all, the job of the realized souls, like the enlightened light. Once that is done for you, then you have to do for others. Then you have to learn the technique. But unless and until you are enlightened, you cannot do any technique because there's no power flowing. To start this, you have to put it to the mains, isn't it? Otherwise, no use knowing the technique. If you don't know how to start the car, no use knowing how to drive. So let us first start it and then you will learn the driving. Is it all right now?
Having started, how long does it take to become realized?
No, you are realized at the start only. To begin with, it takes hardly any time. You get realization first, in the sense that you become collectively conscious, you become empowered. But then it takes hardly any time. For some people, only 6-7 days they can become experts. That's all. That's sufficient. Some people take some time, but depending on what obstructions you have in your centers. If your centers are obstructed, then it takes little more time. But if they are not, it doesn't take much time. You become automatically endowed with that technique. Now here we have at least 50% who are Sahajogis. We call them Sahajogis once they become expert. Before that, not. At least 50% people sitting here are that. They're just like you. But there's a difference. If you see their faces are glowing, you won't find any pimples or anything on their faces. Very soft skin, young looking, fresh, eyes are sparkling. They are over here. And that's how you become. You become the masters of yourself. Because you become the spirit. And spirit is the master because it guides you. Alright? We'll work it out. That's a very good question. Why? Because you want it. That's a good question. That really helps everyone. Should we have it now? All right.
Obrigada, Shri Mataji. Novamente. Vamos cultivar agora aquele intervalo entre um pensamento e outro que Shri Mataji aludiu, Vilamba. Nossa consciência sem pensamentos. Ouvindo uma raga que foi feita, composta para o período da noite, para induzir o sono e a tranquilidade. Vamos juntos encerrar a meditação, elevando a Kundalini e dando os bandhas. Se você quiser continuar meditando em silêncio, fique à vontade. Muito obrigada a todos pela participação. Uma excelente noite. Nós estamos à disposição no WhatsApp. Um grande abraço. Namastê. Jai Shri Mataji.